So I've got this one succulent here. Used to be really healthy, was growing like crazy. Not so much anymore. I think the soil went bad, the roots died out, and it started dying up the main trunk there. Now it's got aerial roots growing, and I think they're feeding the plant right now, so I'm just gonna try cutting it off right there, pulling a bunch of these leaves off and planting it, babying it for a little while. You know, it's got a couple little side branches, or a little, whatever you want to call them. I don't really know. They're not pups, I guess. Kind of like branches. See how it goes. Hi, Obi. Hi, Obi. What you doing? What you doing? This is what it looks like after some work. Took all these leaves off, chopped it down all the way to there. So I chopped that first, and then I got another little piece. Now I'm left with this little broccoli looking thing almost. These leaves are still fairly healthy, they feel okay. These ones felt pretty droopy and dry, not any water going up to them. So I think with all that fresh root that's grown up there, hopefully we'll get some more callousing at the bottom and that won't spread up to the good stuff, but that's what I'll be planting. Just kind of get it down in there for now. It's probably not the greatest way to do it. Guess I should have taken more leaves off, but I'll just water it really sparingly. Just kind of missed it for now. Hopefully those roots will grow down into the medium and it'll start taking off, and then I can start watering it fully. So I've got this little pot of crabgrass, I think that is, growing in here. Kind of wanted to try and grow like a lawn or yard type landscape. Experimenting to see how this stuff works. Anyways, there's a little seedling that's popped out of there. I'm pretty sure it's a pine. Maybe it's another one of the 2-needle red pines from the area. None of my eastern white pines grew any seed this year. It's got 7 needles on the first, opening there, but I know that's just its infantile or juvenile needles. We'll see what it turns into. I think I might bring it inside for the winter to see if I can grow this stuff out and also keep that pine alive. It's really late in the season. Didn't really expect I didn't really expect or know that pine seedlings would open up late in the fall like this. So I don't know if it's gonna stay alive. If I keep it out here, it might be too young and freeze up, so I'll bring it inside, grow it on, bring it outside next year. So this is the first pear off the pear tree. Cut it open a few minutes ago. It's already starting to brown a little bit around the core. There's not much in the way of seeds in there, but there is one nice seed that I'll take and plant and see what happens. It smells good. Haven't tasted it yet, but here goes. Wow, that's really good actually. Really good. Crunchy, juicy, really flavorful. Awesome. Can't wait for next year. Hopefully we get a bunch more. Nice. November 13 today. I'm a little late recording all the color changes on the trees. Everything's, that big maple in the neighborhood's gone yellow. This big one over here that's covered in vines. Leaves have already fallen off. My trees are looking pretty good. These Norway maples have just about lost all their leaves. They turned a nice yellow. Same with these ones too. There's a different kind of maple seedling popping up in the corner there. It might be a red maple. At least the leaves are turning red when all the Norways in the neighborhood are, at least my potted ones from a different Norway tree. I got the seeds, they're turning yellow. The neighborhood ones are still green. Maybe that's because they're in the ground, not sure. Rose of Sharon leaves have all fallen off. More Norway maples. The pawpaws are yellowing and browning, but they're not falling off yet. They're hanging on. Ash tree. The leaves have turned kind of purple, except for this one that's kind of hidden from the sun. I tied these branches down earlier, a couple months ago, I guess. So that's why it looks a little funny. All the leaves are kind of upside down. Japanese maple is still blood red. These two maples and this birch have all lost their leaves. This birch is still looking really good after I prune the top off. Mountain ash falling off. This one's ready to go. Another maple in there, doing well. The winter creeper has turned an interesting shade of purple on the bottom and dark green on the tops of the leaves, but all the new growth, this growth came out weeks ago, but it's still a nice vivid green color. I guess that'll harden off and turn purple soon enough. That's about it for all my winter colors on my trees anyways. The apricots are still green, but the pear tree here is starting to turn a nice orange color. Persimmon is just yellowing a little at the bottom. On the inside mostly. Quince tree over here isn't doing anything. But this one, the eastern redbud tree, looks beautiful this time of year. That kind of green, yellowy color. Really nice. I'm gonna sweep up all these leaves and put them in the garden. Let them decompose over the winter. In the meantime, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with my trees over the winter. I'm not gonna leave them on the benches like this. I'll probably have them down here, maybe covered in some clear plastic. We'll see what happens. A lot of them did just fine in the corner of my parents' backyard last year. Not covered at all. And these big pots were just along the side of their house in kind of half full sun. We'll see how it goes in here. The yard is pretty protected, fenced in all around. That's the only opening. So I think if I keep them in this corner, they'll have a little bit of sun and the wind will be shaded, and they'll be out of the wind, the bad winds more or less. And I hope that's enough to keep them all alive for the winter. This will be the second winter for most of them. Third winter for, I think, just my big spruce and my big pine. I think are the only two trees that have survived for 2 winters outside. Now they'll have their third. See how it goes. Forgot to film the before part of the process, but got this money plant that was in here. That had a pup growing out. Soil needed to be changed though, it wasn't great for this plant. This pup has its own roots by the looks of things. Can open up the rest of it here. There's little roots coming out the main one. There was some root trying to grow out of this. I think I can probably plant it like that. Planted it pretty deep down in there. Got the roots kind of spread out in a radial fashion down at the bottom of this pot. This thing is curving a little bit here. I'll probably tilt it just a little bit more like that so it ends up kind of coming up straight in the middle of the pot. Here's the other one all potted up and watered. I don't know what kind of oak this is exactly, but I'm getting some amazing colors out of it. November 18th today. The leaves are fairly small for an oak, so I want to try and keep this a kind of smaller tree. I'll cut it back to the lower buds there, keep it really short. Right next to this red Japanese maple over here, which has looked really good and red all year, but it's so vibrant right now, it stands out like crazy. This tree's looking pretty good. I collected 4 tiny seedlings of these about a year ago, I guess. Maybe a year and a half ago. Only one of them started. They just started growing naturally on someone's lawn, an acquaintance from a tree in the neighborhood. They said I could have them, so this is the last one. Hopefully I can get some cuttings off of it and I can propagate this color, because that is really, really cool. I want to make a whole bunch of trees just like that. The ash has some cool colors here too. Leaves have fallen on all the maples, the birch, rows of Sharons. The pawpaws still have all their leaves more or less, which is interesting. They've been changing colors for a long time. A lot of variation in there. That maple, these maples, everything's fallen off except for that one cluster at the top. All these maples are almost bare. You can see some really big roots in the soil there. I'm gonna have to transplant all these next year into their own individual pots. Maybe I'll make a forest and a couple individual trees maybe. Maybe I'll just make a forest out of all of these small ones. And the big sugar maple, I think it is, will be on its own in a big pot. I want to kind of grow that big one as a more formal style. Forest would be cool from the small ones. This spruce obviously is going to be formal style, hopefully. Formal upright anyways. Most of my trees I want to put a whole bunch of movement on and keep them fairly small. I can't be keeping too many large trees yet until I have my own place permanently. But for now, this corner of the backyard is working pretty well. I gotta try and control myself and not just collect and plant every single tree I see. All the seeds I want to plant, I've got a bunch saved up. I'll use them eventually. For now, just enjoying these late fall colors. Mid to late fall, I guess. November 29th today. We finally had our first proper snowfall here in Hamilton yesterday. I know Nigel at the Bonsai zone up near Kitchener-Waterloo, they've had snow for the last couple weeks now, but this was our first proper snowfall where the snow stayed on the ground. Everything is looking very wintry. It's always so interesting to me how the trees capture the snow and the ice, especially the pines and the cedars. Just think everything is so beautiful this time of year. This little oak tree still has its leaves, still red. Japanese maple's looking great. The leaves have more or less fallen off of everything else. Some of the pawpaw leaves are still hanging on. A few maple leaves here and there. But generally everything is going dormant for the winter, to be woken up in a few months for another round of huge growth, hopefully. I look forward to all the late winter, early spring pruning and repotting that I'm going to be doing. Until then, there won't be much in the way of updates for the next few months. I'll show my indoor trees, all my tropicals I brought indoors a couple weeks ago. I'll show them soon enough. I shouldn't have kept this shamrock outside. It's not doing so well. That's the little pine seedling I'm gonna bring in. And this is a little cactus succulent. Should have brought in before, but didn't. Good 5 centimeters of snow. It's a little bit warmer today, so you can probably hear and see everything's melting, thawing out again. Just grabbing all the sap from this persimmon tree from the wounds left over last time I cut it. Where is this? There we go. Interesting. Doesn't look so great, but that's all of it. Wait for it to harden up and see if I can do something with it.